welcome everybody back to the Deposit That podcast, where today I'm here with the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Brooklyn himself, someone who's taken over the entire, one of the hottest markets in all of New York City, probably even in the country. We're going to do his intro song right now as if he was going to be walking up to his at-bat, because right now he's coming up to at-bat in the Deposit That podcast. So here's his song, and then we'll introduce him.
Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn
You ever hear the song before? You know the song?
Yeah.
All right, so this is your theme song coming up.
I
So
love it.
everybody, let's welcome Ban Leo to the show. Ban, welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
You
I'm
s-
very glad to be here.
You said to me that only I could get you into the city on this hot day for a podcast. Is that true, or
Only
would you
for
lie to me?
Jeff. Because you know what? It's worth it. And everybody needs to deposit that.
Love it. Absolutely. So you always say it is what it is. You tell it how it is. Where did you learn that from? Because a lot of people operate with insecurity and don't tell it how it is and don't want to hear how it is.
I think I got it from my mother. At a very young age, she is a very independent woman, and she would always guide me to say things as you see it, as they are, and do not sugarcoat anything to just make somebody feels nice. And I think it also resonates in our industry right now because honesty and the reality of it all has got to be transmitted and conveyed to our clients in a very transparent way, and no more sugarcoating and lying about what we can achieve when we cannot in this volatile market.
How have you crushed the Brooklyn market since the day you started in this business, so far exceeding other people's expectations, maybe even your own? Maybe you even have higher aspirations, so I'm sure you do. Being that we're friends, we probably are always going to shoot for the stars, obviously. What has gotten you to just be that dominant force in an ultra-competitive, ultra-diverse marketplace?
I think everything starts with a passion. I've always have a passion for real estate, and I really loved what I do. I think with that as a platform, you do get to cement what you see, what you're going to achieve. I've always believed in shooting for the stars, and when I first came into the real estate market
In what year?
in 2004,
Okay.
I did 2004 to 2007, 2008 to 2013, I took a break. I opened up my own business called Ban, selling mid-century modern furniture, which is my passion at one time. So I just want to fulfill that.
I didn't even know that, really.
Yeah, and then 14 till now, I'm back in the game. So collectively, I would say about 8.5 years in the business now.
Wow.
So when I first started in 2004, properties in Bed-Stuy, where I lived, was just selling for $499, and
So 500,000, that's
yeah,
it.
It was everybody's game, and I had friends that I've encouraged them to basically invest at that time. They were very scared of the neighborhood. They didn't want to get to know the neighborhood, and they were very reluctant. Fast forward in 2016, everybody comes crawling back. And
Well, the
say,
market was white
yeah,
hot.
The market
White
is
hot.
hot. They could have made millions, and that's where they begin to realize that Bed-Stuy is actually a very community-based neighborhood, that everybody is very diverse, and we have created a sense of belonging.
Everyone's a neighbor.
Yeah, everybody knows your name, really. They know where you park your car, and they are very caring. And that's what drew me to Bed-Stuy.
So it's not the hood anymore. It's now a neighborhood.
It's a neighborhood. It's no more Bed-Stuy do or die. It's Bed-Stuy rent or buy.
Ban-Stuy, do or die.
Yeah, no, it's Bed-Stuy rent or buy. Now, yeah.
So what's excelled you personally? I mean, again, you took a 5-year hiatus, and I always think it's good in very stressful, dynamic industries to take a break, call it halftime, if you will, call it TV timeout, whatever you want to call it, right? How did that 5 years give you or reignite that passion inside of you, and how did you come back literally swinging for the fences full force to just kick ass?
When I did my store, it was also linked to real estate in some ways, which I didn't realize until much later.
It's like an ancillary business to real estate.
Yeah, and people were coming and telling me, "Hey, Ban, I need to sell furniture." And my next question is, "Why are you selling?" "Oh, well, my so-and-so just passed," or "We have decided to live New York altogether." So, of course, that ignites my real estate fire. And my next question is, oh, really? Where are you located? Do you want me to sell your home? Blah, blah, blah. So it went on from that to going back to the real estate. And you're very right. I think we all should take a break from some very heightened competitive market and just reevaluate yourself and bring yourself back to a place where you are comfortable. And when time is correct, I'm sure you'll jump right back again and for greater heights. And when I came back the second time, we broke records left, right, and center. The first record that we broke was a 16-foot home in Arlington, in Bed-Stuy. At that time, you're talking about 12 years ago. We sold it for 2.25 million.
12 years ago.
Unheard of,
Wow.
right? And then you're talking, and then there's also another property that came to the market. We were the first to break at 3 million. And then the last one, which is of course the icing on the cake, is the $6.3 million mansion that we
Unheard
sold.
of. So you
Yeah.
sold a $6.3 million single family home, right?
Yes.
In Brooklyn,
Yes.
in Bed-Stuy.
Yes, and we cut through all the skeptics, and everybody was laughing and saying nasty things about how crazy I was. It was not going to happen. Ban is overshooting this time. He's going to get 4 million. But we,
4 million.
yeah, yeah, and we were laughing it off. And we actually had a deal for 7 million, and it fell apart. And we quickly put it back in the market, remarketed it, and we got an offer of 6 million. And at that point, I was being very aggressive. I said, listen, it has been appraised for 7. We have an offer for 7. You have to give me a better offer. So they came back with 6.275, all cash,
Wow.
and closing in 14 days. So I told the seller,
Take it.
and run.
Yep.
Now, fast forward, if we were to do it in today's market,
It would sell for 4 million.
it will not happen for
Serious?
sure. You know?
Who's calling? Ghostbusters?
Yeah, something, home busters,
Homebuster? Ball breakers?
ball breakers, more like it. Yeah. So the market, like we was just saying before,
Sure.
is, I think this time, all the professional, well-established brokers are feeling the pinch. So for somebody who's actually come into the market right now doing real estate, it's a very challenging time. But it has its good and its bad. I think the good thing is you're going to learn a lot through the struggle, and the bad thing is, the more established ones are definitely going to lead the pack and get all the listings.
Yeah,
and-
cream always rises.
Yeah, so I think that's what we're heading to right now.
Now, before we obviously went live, we were speaking about the market's scary, right?
Very
It's a
scary.
Scary market. For those listeners that don't know what scary means, right? What does the market being scary mean to you?
Days on the market. Properties that we list, let's say 5 years ago, we could sell it within 3 weeks. In today's market, you're looking at 6 months.
So you're telling me the time frame could legitimately go from 21 days to 180 days. Is that because the prices are not priced properly, or is that because the buyers have no reason to pull the trigger, in your opinion?
I think it's both. Pricing now, number one, I think it's inventories. Inventories are out there and it's not drying up as fast as we want it to be. And as weird as this may sound, the weather actually impacts the period that we're launching our sales. If you look at spring, we have no good weather over the open houses period. Every Sunday was raining, attendance were low, there was no interest.
Morale's
So
low.
everybody was just not having the hype, you know what I
Right.
mean? So everything just got better, I would say the last 2 Sundays, after all the, the July 4th and what have you, then people are now coming back to take a look at the open houses. But there's always all the barks and no bite situation. They love,
That's like
love,
Americans in general, though,
love.
right?
Of course, yeah,
All bark, no
there's
bite.
yeah. And they come and see, they love every single banister and whatever appliances that you have. But for them to make an offer, they have so many things to consider. Number one, interest rates are so low, they don't have to rush to purchase. Number two, there are so many options right there. Number three, prices are dropping like crazy. Every week you see, 5 to 25% drop.
Is that because of desperation, needing to sell?
Absolutely.
Need to sell.
Need to sell, and the sellers are all getting very anxious to decide whether cut price, sell it, or turn it into rentals. So that also now affects the rental market. So the units are becoming available for the rental markets has gone crazy in Bed-Stuy, and prices are also dropping in the rental market. So it's a domino effect overall. You know, so people cannot just sustain a property for 6 months that they have put so much money into renovating and it's not selling while they are still repaying either hard money or mortgage, right? So that take into play what we are experiencing right now. And I hate to say this, but it is a buyer's market right now, and they know that. The buyers know that, and they're just taking their own sweet time.
So if you're a seller and you're listening to this podcast, regardless of where you are in the country, what's your strategy as being one of the top real estate brokers in all of New York State, probably in the country, in my opinion, from a professional level, from a personal level? That's the truth, right? And you know, I tell it how it is, right? What's your advice to a seller? How do you pick your broker? How do you price your property? What do you do to get your home sold in this type of market?
I think you hit the correct, the mandatory word today is price. I think you have to select a broker that understands the market, that understands the day-to-day fluctuations of pricing, and also be able to come and tell you a realistic price of listing your property in the time frame that they are looking to sell their property. If they're not in a hurry, of course, it's going to be there forever. It is their own game. But if you want to sell it in a realistic time, the correct pricing comes into play. And it is very, very important that we understand that. 5 years ago, every broker that I know were just picking up, you know, a figure from the sky and
Lucky,
saying it,
get lucky.
and then just sugarcoat whatever they could do. Me, myself included, I was very aggressive in my pricing.
You could be.
But now you have to, like, you know, understand the entire change of winds, so to speak, and everybody is now adjusting their sails to perfect the perfect ride, you know. And we are going to weather it, you know, for the next, I don't know, 5 years to come. And what really, in a way, saddens me is, like, for example, Bed-Stuy, we have built all the properties to a very healthy appraisal value. So it's gone from, let's say, 499, 15 years later, it's gone to 3.1 million, 3.5 million. Now, with this fluctuation in pricing and the price reduction and what have you, the appraisal value is going to drop.
Has to.
Yeah, it has to. And then guess what? We will have to rebuild that again. And that's what the market is.
What type of cushion do you put in that? By cushion, I mean, okay, the house 4 months ago was 3.1. Some desperate seller now sells for 2.7. I'm giving an example,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Let's say
That's
there's
right.
a 10% fluctuation
Yeah.
between, listen, this just sold for 3.1, now you're getting 2.7. Do we have further to drop? Is it a falling knife, or is it going to reset pretty much the bottom line
I
bar?
think it will reset. It will reset for sure. I think that give and take, 10 to 50% is correct. And also, you know, I think sellers will have to understand that there are a lot of demands now from the buyers because of the transfer tax, the mention tax. So they
HGTV.
yeah, they're all coming into it. They're like, well, Ban, we will make an offer, but we would like the seller to absorb the difference. You never heard that before.
Ever.
Right? When the market is hot, you know, you have 10 offers in one day, and then it goes to the bidding war. But you don't see that anymore. And last year was bad. This year is worse. And I think we are not seeing anything healthier going on. Now it's July. We have one more month to go. And then September comes, fall market. Inventories are not going to dry up. It's going to, you know, residually increase for fall and then go into next spring. So the market is tumbling. That's for sure.
Do you believe the market is artificially inflated?
I don't think so. I don't think
So
so.
you think we're in a real market?
Yeah, I think this is the real market. I think every broker out there is now coming to the senses that they have to be tough in delivering the news to the sellers of what they might not want to hear. Like, for example, I just went for a pitch yesterday, And this seller tells me
People are still making you work to get listings
Of
after you're breaking
course.
records.
No,
They should just call you up and say, "Where do I sign? Where do I sign?"
They don't. Well, they used to. I mean, we all. It's okay because I always
Make
love
you
a
work
good
for it.
challenge
Of course, of course.
and talk to them. And
Seems to be a common theme on this podcast is people liking the challenges to keep challenging yourself and
yeah,
growing.
You have to. You challenge yourself. You never stop learning. And I think no matter how good you are, there's always some aspects in the industry that you still have to dig further and get yourself more acquainted and get yourself more knowledge to compete with the others, especially in these changing times. So back to the seller, he said to me, "Ban, I want 3.2." I said, "Listen, the comps today will only get you 2.7. And that's what it is.
500,000
Yeah,
less.
there's no way you can get it anymore.
Yeah, you can make up any number you want,
Yep.
but
You can ask all you want, but there are two things. It's not going to sell, and someone's going to think there's something wrong with your property. Or you price it correctly, and we sell it at a very reasonable price that you will still make money, but not that much."
what's the craziest price difference you've ever gotten on a listing pitch for, right? And you said, "Hey, I think your property is worth X." What's the highest someone's come back in higher than what you actually thought the property was worth?
We have been very lucky because I've been working with repetitive, like, one of sellers will give me like 4 or 5 properties.
Oh,
So
wow,
they
nice.
understand
Yeah.
my strategy.
Sure.
They trust my pricing point. But the one that I encountered once is a home in Bushwick. It's worth 1.2, and then the guy come and tell me, "Well, Ban, if I won't sell it if it's not at 3 million." It's a frame home, and I look at him.
So
I said,
off by
"Listen."
1.8 million.
Yeah, I said, "You know what? I cannot do it."
Interesting.
So I think sometimes you just have to say no, and don't waste each other's time, and go on to the next project, because there's nothing I could do to evaluate that kind of reasoning and tell him that, and spend hours in explaining to him that it's not worth
Sure.
3 million. You know what I
Sure.
mean? So I don't waste time anymore. I think time is more important to me to invest in my listings that I have, that I am desperately trying to get it moving. And buyers are now very savvy. Years ago, you need your broker to send you information, and you have to, receive a fax and do all that kind of thing.
Get a page.
Today it's a swipe industry,
that's it.
right? If you don't call me, I swipe to
Swipe
the next
industry. Wow.
one. Yeah, if you
I like
don't,
that.
yeah, if you don't let me know what's going on, so it's all about swiping, and that's how easy it is to get, instant information, and they demand
Yeah, it's
that.
now or never.
Exactly. If you don't return my call in 5 minutes, I'm getting on
Yep.
to the next one.
Yep.
So it's become very, very edgy and competitive, and it's a time sensitive world that we're living in. Like, I have people say,
Completely.
"Yeah, I wrote to you, 10 minutes ago."
I haven't replied yet.
Yeah, I was like,
I sneezed.
Yeah, I was, hosting an open house. But I can understand that, because that's what the world we live in right now, and people want, instant reply, instant messages, instant this, instant that. But you cannot change that. It is what it is. We live with it. It's a new normal.
I think that's a great point to touch on, where at what point, or what's a reasonable amount of time when someone contacts you, right, that you have to get back to them? And I asked that question with this. On the 4th of July, right, my son just fell, now, I have a 10-month-old son, he's my priority. I don't care amount of money, unless the house is on fire, he comes first. I don't care who's calling me, right? People say, "Oh, well, I called you, I text you, I emailed you." Well, not for nothing, but it's all on my phone, right? So if you call me, or you text me, you email me, they all come through at the same time, right? So by calling and texting and emailing me, I look at it as, now you're being annoying, right? Because you did it all within 5 minutes. As a professional, as a high-level producer, how much time in a respectful manner do you give between returning someone's phone call, text, or email?
I think I'm one of the crazy ones. I tend to sleep with the phone beside my bed.
Yeah, so do I.
So you can write me an email at 12. I'll reply at 12:02.
If you're awake.
Yeah, if I'm awake.
Yep.
I think I'd like to return my client's call or asking for information if I'm awake as soon as possible. If not, it'll be a text saying that I'm in a meeting, but I
Sure.
will get back to you in 10 minutes.
Like just
or
common
30
courtesy
minutes.
reply.
Yeah, but I always let them know that I am not uh, disrespecting your call. I want your business, and I really want to make sure that we are in contact. I think they want to hear that because, like I said, it is so easy for them to actually swipe to the next person.
Sure.
And we are all living in that kind of paradigm right now, And I also like, if I want to talk to a seller for a particular reason, I also want them to return my call as well because now my buyers demand that. My sellers have the answers, so I need to get to know, immediately also. So I respect that. I have no problems.
At what point do you personally take control of a transaction? Meaning, you basically tell the buyer, I got this. You tell the seller, I got this. You tell the other broker, hey, I got this. I'm quarterbacking this.
Mm-hmm.
At what point do you take full control and stop playing games with the people that don't know how to play the game?
If I'm working with a co-broking situation, if I know the agent is a very respectful, professional, once they give me all the information that I need, I think that's when I take over. Even with my team members that I work with, they will do the open houses, they will do the showings, but ultimately when it comes to negotiating the final price, I always take over from that side and I lead them, to home, make sure it happen.
Now, one of the biggest topics in the real estate market right now are discount brokerages coming into play.
Absolutely. Discount, not only discount, but also
High split to the agents, right? And because of somebody, again, of your production, of your experience, I'm sure you've had every mom and pop broker to big brokerage in Manhattan, probably in the country, roll out the red carpet for you, right? Hey, we're going to give you 95% split. Hey, we're going to, whatever, shine your shoes. Hey, we're going to buy you a home. We'll give you a market allowance. We'll give you a car, right? What's maintained your loyalty to Halstead? And how do you believe other agents should approach this problem that's disrupting the industry?
I actually read a very interesting quote about the grass is never greener, always greener on the other side. It's where you are standing on, and that's where you sort of farm and make it grow. And I think that's very relevant.
Mm-hmm.
I am with Halstead because they are a family-owned business, and the person that I'm working with and for, Trish, is a very respectful and understanding person, not just a boss, but a person.
So your boss is a woman?
Yeah.
Love it.
And she is very, she's human. She listens to you. She knows what you're going through. She will make a phone call and say, listen, is there anything I can do to help you?
So even at this stage of your career, you still need help?
Yeah. Of course, I think if it's given to me and at kind of angle right now, I welcome everything. I am one of those that I do, I'm not a hoity-toity, like, I am this, I'm that. I am just a regular person doing my job and doing his best for my clients.
And doing it well.
Yeah. And I think the moment it gets into your head, I think that's where you lose focus. And then everything else becomes very territorial.
Do you see discount brokerages? By discount brokerages, we mean brokerages that are offering agents very high splits, taking much lesser listing fees.
Absolutely.
Do you see them continuing to push in the market? And do you really see what I call margin compression, where like no one's paying 5-6% anymore and they want 2, 3, and 4% commissions?
I have a very interesting story to share with you.
Yeah.
Actually, we went for a pitch with this very, very nice property in Bainbridge in Bed-Stuy. 4-story limestone, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I presented myself, he heard about me, he loves me, the wife loves me, and then I demand a 6% commission because I work very hard, I'm worth it.
You market, you spend money marketing.
Deliver, and I know what I do, and I will deliver what I promise I will deliver within the realms of what the market dictates. So this gentleman came back to me and says, well, I'm sorry, Ban, we're giving it to another agency for 4%. And
Just to be clear for the listeners, so what was the price point of it?
$3 million.
So 2% savings is $60,000 in their pocket,
right? So
or not in their pocket.
Exactly. So, and I can assure you, I can sell it for $3 million. I have no problems based on the size of the property, and the location, I have no
In
problem.
today's market,
In today's market, because I've sold something 7 blocks away for 3.1, so I'm very confident.
relative.
But he gave it to somebody else, which is fine. Fast forward, 3 months later, he called me up. He's like, Ban, oh, I hope it's not unprofessional, but I'm reaching out to you because my brokers ABC did not deliver, blah, blah, blah. So I said to him, I said, Mr. X, you refuse to give me $60,000 more, but in today's listing market, you just drop your price to 2.75.
You just lost 350,000.
Yeah, but you're okay with that and not paying me?
Yeah, now you're short 290.
Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? And he said, well, we're very disappointed, blah, blah, blah. I said, listen, good luck to you. I hope you sell it. Oh, but Ban, if it doesn't sell, we're going to give it to you.
Or bring us a buyer.
Exactly. And I said to him, no problem.
Yeah.
But just so you know, if you give the listing back to me, it will be at 2.75 at 6%. Because I cannot put in 3 million anymore. Because you spoiled it. You killed the
Yeah,
market.
you cost yourself
You called yourself.
250 more.
Exactly. So 60,000 you will not pay, but you're prepared to lose 250,000. It doesn't make sense to me. So
Now, do you consider that person a fool? Do you consider them uneducated? Do you consider them greedy? Do you
Greedy.
consider them like
Greedy.
a negotiate that
Yeah.
they think they're a negotiator?
Yeah.
What do you consider them?
they see
Truthfully,
the tree, not the forest, right? That's what they do.
Interesting.
They just see one part of it, like, oh my God. They see the 2%, but they don't see what they are going to work with somebody who's going to discount the property for more than that.
now what do you think about the broker that comes in and says, "I'll list this property for 4% because they're probably they're a schmuck. They've probably never done any deals. They don't know the business. They don't know how to price it. They're devaluing
Yeah.
the real estate title
Absolutely.
brand."
Mhm.
What do you think of someone like that? Truthfully,
Um,
like,
Well,
do you
but-
respect them or no? Honestly,
I do not.
no, right?
No, I think they kill the market. We are better together, and we're stronger together, and we should stick together and not discount ourselves. If you're a good broker or agent, and you're filled with substance, and you know what you can deliver, why discount?
You don't need
Actually,
to.
in this market, you should not be discounting.
Right.
You're working harder
And there's less for deals.
than usual.
Sure.
Right? So I don't believe in that. But it's like preaching to an empty hall because everybody's out there trying to, they are 2 and 4%. No. And I explained to the seller, I would have a better co-brokering experience at 3% than at 2%. Why should they bring their buyers to me?
No reason to.
There's no need.
Now let's talk about that though, because technically, when a buyer agent gets a buyer, right,
Mhm.
they have a fiduciary responsibility to show them all the properties on the
Mhm.
market. Hey, I'm doing what's in my client's best interest. Whether they're making a 1% split or a 4%
Mhm.
split, let's just say you're paying out a crazy number.
Mhm.
Do you believe an agent should or should not show a property based on their commission split, of what's fair versus what's not fair?
I think when it comes to an agent that is professional and it is the career and it's a job to make money,
Sure.
that comes into play because if you're a good agent, you would guide your buyers to the best deal. Buying something at 2%, let's say 11 blocks away from the train, as opposed to buying 3 million property just a block away in the best of blocks. It's a no-brainer. Why? Because when you're going to do the resale side of it, you're going to earn anyway.
So let's talk about that. So most people are so transactional based. Hey, I sold them a property,
Yeah.
and now whatever.
Yeah.
You sell someone a property, you're already looking at it as, okay, well, I want to make sure that they come back to me to be their listing broker when they sell.
Exactly. And you always have to tell them about the resale side. And I think if brokers were to bring that into the exposure of recommending a property, the sellers would see it differently because then you are taking into consideration, amenities, transportation, blocks by block situation, especially in Bed-Stuy, and also the stocks. And it's also historic district as well. So they are just very mundane. I'm going to get myself in trouble saying this.
We could edit it.
They just don't really put in the 100%, of playing the role of a buyer's broker. I think there is a difference between the sellers and buyer's broker, and sometimes you do both. But depending on what kind of hat you wear, you should be able to come very clean and clear and guide your clients accordingly, and make them understand yes, you are investing $100,000 more on this property, but in 5 years' time, you're getting $500,000 back, as opposed to buying the other property, you're getting $150,000 back. So, and I look into people, when they are going to sell their property, they will call me.
Sure.
And I have got instances as well where I represent the seller. The buyer's broker sold the property, but when they want to sell, they call me.
Interesting.
And not the broker who sold them the property. And they believe that, that I know Best Buy very well. It's king of Best Buy.
That's it. So I think a lot of people that are going to be listening to the show, right? We're going to have all walks of life. Sexual preferences, races, colors, sizes. I say all shapes and sizes. Everyone's welcome, right? A big topic, a majority topic in real estate is gentrification, right? Brooklyn has undergone probably comparative with Harlem, the largest gentrification push from what I know in our local market, in any market, right? There are other ones obviously as well, but those have been kind of the pioneer of that. Talk to me about gentrification. Talk to me about your 100-year-old African-American seller that has to sell versus wants to sell, and the blonde-haired, blue-eyed family that comes in to break up the block or block bust. Give me all your experiences that you have from that, and give me your theory on, does it help the community? Does it hurt the community? What's your opinion?
My favorite G word, gentrification. So this is my take on gentrification. Neighborhood changes. We can start from Manhattan to Harlem to Brooklyn. You cannot expect a certain demographic to be in a neighborhood, because as people are getting older, like for example, I'm talking in basis of Bed-Stuy.
Sure.
We have a very high population of African Americans, but they have bought properties there when they were very young and they worked very hard for it, and they bought properties there when nobody wants to be there. So now they are in their 70s or in their early 80s. They want to go somewhere that's warmer and kinder to their bodies. So they're looking to
Cheaper
sell.
cost of living.
Yeah, and less stress. And they want a condo. They don't want to maintain a brownstone. So that all comes into what they have decided what they want to do. So my thing is this. In America especially, if somebody wants to sell something and another person is willing to buy, it's business.
Green is green. Money's money.
Yes. And as long as there's no one putting a gun to somebody's head and said, you have to do this, you have to sell it to this, it is none of that.
I mean, I know people, I have friends that are African Americans in Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy, Bushwick, even Williamsburg back in the day. Friends, personal friends, I can call them right now on the phone, right? They sold one of, because they had 2, 3, 4, 5 properties, they bought them so cheap, sold to an outsider, if you will, and they were looked down upon by their community. What do you think about that?
I think it's going to happen. It's going to happen. There are two ways to look at it. Now, collectively, if we don't want that to happen, then obviously there is a situation whereby the community can come together and share this information that this property is going to be up for sale. If there's anybody around the
It's like right of
circle-
first refusal.
Exactly. Buy it.
For fair market.
For fair market or whatever price that they
Sure.
both agreed to sell.
I like that.
I did a property on Decatur, and this very feisty, fun, loving African American woman is 86 years old. She was going to sell a property for 3 years. Now, true story, this is not even a fabrication. The neighbors were given the first right to purchase. And they toiled with her, and every year they said, okay, we'll do it next year, and year after, and year after. So they dragged her on for 3 years. At that time, she's going through some difficulties already.
Most have health issues or financial issues.
Financial,
Yeah, most.
right?
Yep.
So there was a person that came by and offered her to buy her house for $700,000 all cash.
Like suitcase
Suitcase
cash?
money, yeah.
Here's hundreds or 20s.
She was very, very intrigued and very overwhelmed by the fact that, instant money, and she can do a lot with that cash.
It's better than hitting the lottery.
Yeah. So her neighbor, the other neighbor on the other side, heard about me and says, "What? No, call Ban right now, and he can do something for you." I got a phone call. She asked me whether I can come over and take a look. I came over. I took a look at it. She asked me, "How much do you think I can sell this property for?" I said, at that time, it's 2007, 1.7 million.
And someone offered her 700,000
Mhm.
cash,
We sold for 1.7 million.
$1 million more than what
Yeah.
the person
Today,
offered.
she's my biggest PR. So everybody that wants to sell, because she is such a,
Nicole Ban.
yeah, she
Ban.
is a staple, right? She is like the grande dame
Yep.
of Bed-Stuy. People listen to her.
Did the right
And
thing.
she said something to me very cute. She's like, "Ban," she said, "I used to think, the world is black and white. No, in today's world, I see green."
Wow. Interesting. Now,
And
what did she do? So that was her property that she had lived in?
yeah,
And where did she go? Did she rent
she
somewhere? Or?
went with the money, she went to Arizona.
Wow.
She bought a 4-bedroom property.
200,000.
Yeah, with a
Pool
swimming pool.
made.
There you go.
Yeah.
And she's now back in Brooklyn. She was just telling me that she says, "Bon, I don't live in my house." I said, "Why?" "Oh, because there's coyotes." running around.
That's her biggest problem, though.
Biggest
She
problem.
lived in Bed-Stuy for 50
Yeah,
years, 60
nothing
years.
Problems. So I think, like I said, neighborhood's going to change. If I'm going to sell a property, like everybody else is going to sell a property, and I worked so hard to buy a property with my sweat and tears, and one day I want to live comfortably, and somebody's willing to pay me for what I want, it is business. It is supply and demand, right? I mean, I'm not forcing the person to buy my house, but if they want to pay me for what I ask for, and I'm comfortable with that, be that person black, green, blue, yellow.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. I'm selling a property that I want to sell, and I want to go and live happily somewhere else. It's my right.
What gets you up every morning? What makes you tick?
The passion of,
I feel like you're someone that really truly enjoys life.
yes, I love talking brownstones, townhouses, new developments, condos. I love talking properties, and I also have a training in restaurant business, and I've done my own furniture business. So it's very, I'm very driven by servicing people. I think.
Serious.
And
That's what the world is about. That's why we're put on
and
earth,
making
right?
sure that people are, there's nothing more worthy than 80, now she's 88 years old, woman telling you how much she admires you and how thankful she is today because of what you did
Yeah,
for her.
there's no better feeling in the world than that.
And every day when you grow up knowing that you've done the right thing for the right clients and their lives change thereafter, I think we are doing a good thing. We're not taking advantage of the sellers.
Huh.
We're not offering them $700,000. We are making them money that they will be forever comfortable till the end of their lives.
I think you said it
think-
earlier, the transparency is so key in that,
Yeah.
having the integrity. And I can tell you, there's no better
Exactly.
feeling. People, remember when I started in the Bronx in 07, 08, people bought properties after the market had fallen off there 50, 60, even 70%, right? So, yeah, call it timing, call it luck, call it as however you see it. But I have people that are calling me up, cops, firefighters, teachers, every day, average Joe, 9 to 5, hardworking people that's all they know, right? Civil service, if you will, that are calling me up like, "Listen, Jeff, I wouldn't have been able to sell this house for $600,000 more than I purchased it if you didn't help me get the loan. Hey, Jeff, I just sold these 2 properties and I put $400,000 in my bank right now. That's paying for my kids' education. And without you helping get me this approval, when no one else was lending, when very few banks were even in the market, I did this. I was able to do this with your help, with your assistance. And I'm like, listen, you guys did it. I just guided you in the right direction. Think of me as like your angel that just was here to help you keep you on path.
Yes.
There's no more rewarding feeling than that.
I agree. I think we all do what we do, what we love doing as well. But to be going to bed every night knowing that you've done the right thing and you have helped someone be directly or indirectly and change their life in many ways that we would ever dream of, it's a good thing. I think we should be able to do that. And yes, we're in this business to also make money. Everybody needs to work and make money for a living, but that's not a priority. I think the priority is making sure that people are not taking advantage of. I think we just have to care for people. You know?
Now, as we close out the podcast, we usually leave the listeners with one thing to deposit to their memory bank, right? So they have to take one thing that you're going to say, the most impactful thing that you want to leave people with to remember you, to implement in their daily life or routine, or just really to think about. What's the one thing you want somebody to take away after hearing you speak?
Honesty.
It's true, as simple as it sounds, right?
Yes, I think, be honest in everything. It's there's no better value than just to be clear and full disclosure and be rightful of what you tell people and not mislead them. I think that's the thing you have to do for all sellers, buyers, investors.
Any industry, really.
Any industry,
right?
you just have to be honest.
So at what point are you going to bring back Casa Ban?
Not now, probably. Actually, I do have a commercial space there, but it actually gives me a lot of pleasure.
That's your passion,
doing
though.
that, meeting people. And the reason why I did Casa Ban is because when I first bought my first brownstone in Bed-Stuy, I like to marry mid-century modern with brownstone because I hate all antiques because it just drags the whole house down. It's too heavy. So I wanted something more of a lighter feel and minimalist kind of look.
So healthy mix.
Nothing was there.
Interesting.
So I was like, where am I going to buy it? They're like, oh, well, you can go to Dumbo, you can go to Williamsburg.
Too far.
I was like, no.
Yeah, I
Then
carry
I
it back.
open up my own.
Interesting.
And that's how I did it. And it has been a very good experience for me. I met a lot of people. And there's also one thing I always do, and I think which I see a trend, and I would like to also impart that feeling with a lot of brokers. When you are living in a community, be supportive of the community. Spend money in the mom and pop store. Make sure that they are supported day in, day out, because they are the backbone of every neighborhood. So I mean, when people want to buy me lunch or meet up with me, it's always Bed-Stuy.
Has to be.
I want to make sure that these people, first of all, they get to know you. They also know that you are part of the community fabric, and also they also know that you are there.
You're invested.
Yeah, you when you needed them, and the same day they do for you. And if you don't go out and support them, they wouldn't know who you are. They would, nowadays I can go to any kind of bar. Ban, if you want to sell at home, talk to Ban, because that's how you work in the neighborhood. I think when it comes to farming, sowing, whatever they want to call it, you have to be there. Just don't send them cards.
It's super important.
Yeah, just go and meet people. Number one rule: always tip the bartender well.
And then they give out your cards, the drinks.
Because
Awesome.
they are the ones that talk to people.
True. In the neighborhood.
In the neighborhood. And support your
So
neighborhood.
for all you brokers, I hope you took some notes on that. For all you listeners, I hope you enjoyed the show. Bon, I really appreciate you coming out, trekking all the way from Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. But yeah, thank you so much for coming out, and we look forward to having you back on as a guest.
It was always nice chatting with you about all this, and we always have good things to talk about.
Absolutely.
It's real estate.
We don't see each other enough, but we'll definitely get some more dates on the calendar.
Yeah, we're gonna get you back more into Bed-Stuy, yo.
You're right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
No, thank you.